Welcome, everyone. My name is Gavin Claus with LOGISTAR Solutions, and I'm going to be the presenter for today. Just a couple quick housekeeping items to get started with. Everyone's going to be muted through the duration of the webinar. So during the presentation, please go ahead and submit any questions by the chat feature on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will address them at the end of the presentation. And then as well, feel free to send any questions to info@logi-star.com, and this email will be listed at the end of the presentation as well on the final slide. So today we're here to talk about building a business case for SAP SCM Extended Warehouse Management. And we're going to start with a quick overview of LOGISTAR. LOGISTAR is a company. We're going to talk a little bit about just a general WMS business case and WMS market. Then we're going to talk a little bit about EWM, get some terminology out there and make sure everyone understands exactly what we're talking about, and give a little update on the Extended Warehouse Management product. Then we're going to talk about identifying the benefits, talk about a couple of our customers and the benefits that they saw in leveraging the product. And then we're going to talk about quantifying those benefits and selling the business case through the management levels and through the organization. So LOGISTAR Services is really a solutions-focused SAP systems integrator that specializes in warehouse management and extended warehouse management. We're certainly what you might call a boutique consulting firm, maintaining the deepest expertise and experience in North America and Latin America in SAP Extended Warehouse Management and Warehouse Management. This is really validated by both our customers as well as SAP. As you can see here is our certifications as a partner. We are in the Partner Select category as a third-party consulting partner. We're a services partner, software partner, and special expertise partner. We participate in pre-release testing every year in Waldorf, where several of our consultants work with the development team on the new releases of EWM. And we're also a SAP Extended Enterprise reseller with SAP. Again, on the third bullet here, the solution focus, we do one thing and we do it really well, and that's warehouse management. And because we are solutions focused, we don't particularly take an industry focus. So really what we do is work across industries and across anybody that's really shipping products. So you'll see us pretty much anywhere with the exception of insurance, banking. So a couple of the more high volume, larger industries such as retail, wholesale distribution probably have some of the largest distribution networks out there. But it can also be pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and some of the more controlled areas. So if you take a look as SAP Warehouse Management being the center of what we do, on the top left, we do everything associated with that data collection element. So RF and barcoding, voice picking, whether it's in WM or EWM, and voice enabling other transactions such as cycle counting, putaways. Top right corner, very closely tied to warehouse management is transportation. So we also work with a parcel shipping solution that we offer that's certified ABAP add-on called XPS, and within SAP's transportation management solution that really handles some more of the full truckload and ocean freight type of shipments. Within kind of more relevant to the extended warehouse management area, we work with labor management and warehouse and labor analytics. So working with some of the new capabilities available with Crystal Reports, available with the business object solutions that SAP offers. And then the bottom right, last but not least, is working with supply chain execution strategy and logistics solutions architecture. So this is really some of the pre-planning work that we do with our customers to really identify where the opportunities are, which solutions are right for the different tiers of your network, and building a business case and roadmap. And that's kind of a little bit about what we're here to talk about today in terms of building that business case for extended warehouse management. All right, so let's get started with the presentation. So in general, WMS, when we look at the business case, labor is the largest expense next to transportation in the supply chain. So that's typically the focus of a warehouse management solution when you put together the ROI, and put together tangible, quantifiable savings. Several big drivers for that. Number one, of course, tied to that labor is productivity. Also throughput and cycle time. Can I increase my my order cutoff time by decreasing my cycle time to get product out the door, same day shipments, next day shipments, etc. Can I get more throughput, more product out of the same facility? How long can I stay in that facility? Customer service, space utilization, inventory shipping accuracy are all things that are tied to really the WMS business case. Again, really coming back to labor as being the core component that's typically seen as the business case driver. And it says here, industry and company. Each industry and company can be unique. So we might have one, say, automotive OEM manufacturer that their core business case is really built along an integrated platform. And then we might have company down the street, same size, same revenue, same size of warehouse, but because of their environment today, their business case is really driven by labor and performance. And then a quote down here, I'd say, kind of talks about a quote from Aberdeen that the focus on minimizing supply chain management investment costs and TCO. And that's really a big factor when we're talking about SAP's warehouse management system that really makes the business case for SAP's warehouse management different than a third-party WMS system because of that TCO, because of the single platform benefits. So industry trends, what's happening in the WMS market out there? We'll talk a little bit about the consolidation later, but it's really a mature market. There's really significant functional parity, meaning that most systems have the same key feature functions as the other. They all receive, inventory counting, pick, pack, and ship. And most of the development these days is really demand-based or reactive enhancements based on specific customer requirements. So basically everybody's kind of got to a level of maturity in the product that they can compare kind of apples to apples at a high level. When you get to the analysis of selecting a vendor, it really comes down to the nitty-gritty details as to which one is the best fit for your operation. Then extended warehouse management is certainly a focus for many companies. And in this terminology, it is a branding, a product name that SAP uses for extended warehouse management, but it also has a general term within the logistics industry, meaning outside of the four walls, beyond the typical pick, pack, and ship, what else does a warehouse management system do? So that's where a lot of WMS vendors are focusing their time on investment and research investment into areas such as dock management, yard management, in-transit visibility, multi-warehouse visibility, something that's inherent within SAP, but for a third-party system is lacking because of the typically disparate systems. Distributed order management, returns, certainly a big focus, and asset tracking. So really, we're seeing some further enhancements to things outside the warehouse, and even touching into some areas that are typically embedded within an ERP system. Then we also see technology modernization. Just as, for those of you very familiar with SAP, just as SAP continually updates their platforms, database manufacturers, operating system update their platforms and technology and development standards, object-oriented ABAP, and so forth. All the WMS vendors typically follow that platform and change, and that's where a lot of investment is put as well. Then point solutions, add-on solutions such as labor management or slotting come into play for those companies that don't have it today as part of their standard product. So I wanted to bring out and discuss the extended warehouse management solution and what that is, so that we're clear on the terminology and the product that we're talking about. So SAP has had a warehouse management solution that's existed, I don't know exactly when, but going back at least 20 years. It's also called traditional SAP EWM, ERP, Core, ECC. A lot of names have been tied to it. And with that solution, there's over 7,000 customers running the solution. It can be run centralized, decentralized, and it's scalable. We've been implementing SAP EWM for well over a decade, and done it in small manufacturing environments, but also done it in large distribution operations in the magnitude of 500 million square foot warehouses shipping hundreds of thousands of packages. Also within that solution, they built in a component called TRM, or Task and Resource Management, as an optional feature to leverage. Moving forward, as SAP converted to its extension set platform with the 4.7 enterprise release, they came out with what's called extension set 2.0. Within that, it had some key functionality such as cross-docking yard management. And it was basically the extension set concept was that you were able to just flip a flag, turn on that extension set without having to do a full upgrade and testing for those solutions, similar to what you see today as enhancement paths with the ECC platform. So that was a solution that came out, and what they've done is, as the enterprise solution evolved to ECC, they've rebranded that as EWM for ECC, or EWM for ERP. Now, back in 2005, SAP also came out with a new product called Supply Chain Management, or SCM, Extended Warehouse Management. And that was really born from a project based on Caterpillar Logistics implementation tied with Ford Automotive in building really a brand new solution and best of breed warehouse management solution. So now SAP really has two products, what's evolved from the core ERP side as well as the brand new SCM, Extended Warehouse Management. Now you'll see here that there's two EWMs, and while it makes everything very confusing, there is a justification for it. And SAP's, because there is a license component for the EWM solution, there is a license component for the ERP solution as well. So it basically ties those two together. But for our purposes, as we're talking going forward here about the solution, when we say EWM, we're referencing SCM EWM. In comparison of the WM and EWM products, on the right-hand side, you'll see that WM, again, does the core receive, pick, pack, and ship functions. On the right-hand side, you see Extended Warehouse Management, where Extended Warehouse Management has more advanced placement and removal strategies, enhanced RF Wizard, material flow system, advanced products such as slotting and labor management that the core warehouse management product does not have. So in this presentation here, you'll see like some of those key differentiators between the two products. So as I said, Extended Warehouse Management is a relatively new product, but it has been around, released back in 2005. And as you see here, focusing on the bottom left side with this graph, really the product has probably sold more and implemented more sites in the past 2 years than the top 3 other WMS providers combined. So there's now over 300 distinct or live active customers and over 400 sites live globally. And you see on the bottom right hand side, you can see the geographics of where those implementations are. Really, a lot of the core major markets: North America, Europe, Asia Pac, and South America. And the top right-hand side, top right-hand corner, you can see that really it's a wide variety of industries: automotive, service parts, CPG, food and beverage, retail, high-tech, wholesale distribution. So it really, as we've grown over the past 5 years, a lot of people did not want to be the first one in the industry to go. And I would say it's hard-pressed to find an industry that lacks or that does not have an existing live customer for the industry running Extended Warehouse Management in some geographic. All right. So identifying the benefits of implementing EWM. So, in general, someone says, well, what's typical ROI? It's so hard to say. It really comes down to what are you running now? What's your platform today? So in the bottom of the screen here, we've got SAP Inventory Management. maybe I don't have a WMS today, I'm running IM, a very basic stock locator system, or I'm running SAP's warehouse management, or I have a third-party solution, third-party WMS, or maybe I built my own WMS. And even within each of these categories, there are different levels based on the level of functionality that exists today within your environment. So we're going to take a look at each of these four as general categories, talk a little bit about what the key benefits, what the key drivers are for each of those. And then as we go, talk a little bit more about how we're calculating those savings. So coming from an IM environment or implementing a new WMS, one of the key things here is education is critical. And that's because you really need to understand what the system does so that you can identify where you're getting the benefits from. Understanding, well, if I do RF and I do real-time data collection, what does that mean to my operation? So within this category, you're going to typically see the ROI based on operational improvements, stock visibility, real-time tracking throughout the operation, RF enablement, mobile doing mobile transactions. And what we oftentimes see is that we'll see a customer that's running inventory management, and they think that they're performing satisfactorily. They say, yeah, there might be some tweaks here and there, but overall, I'm getting my product out. I've got a high level of accuracy. Well, why is that? Is it because you're double and triple checking? And do you really know, as a baseline, how you're performing against your competition or operations of a similar size? And that really is where, benchmarking, going out and seeing some other local companies doing SAP's value engineering and doing benchmarking through that range to understand is, am I shipping 1,000 packages a day with 30 people when my neighbor's shipping 1,000 packages a day with 2 people? And understanding where those, where you should be and what your target should be from a performance level. So what to expect, when we get into a warehouse management system, system-guided strategies, optimizing the routing through areas such as put away and picking paths, resource and manpower management, understanding what resources can go where, how many resources we have, how many FTEs we've got on the floor, how much workload I have to do, and the comparison between the two. Multi-bin support, being able to optimize the space and productivity, better controls to reduce possibility of lost product and write-offs. Then RF-directed work to facilitate real-time transactions, so your physical process matches the system. And you really have to have RF throughout the environment so that my putaways are RF enabled, so I know real-time when that product gets there, so I can create my picking real-time to match that. And then also facilitates, better visibility throughout the organization, all the way from purchasing to customer service. So converting from SAP ERP-WM to EWM, again, it really depends on what you have. We've got customers that have a real vanilla SAP warehouse management implementation in place. We've got customers that have highly advanced, some very customized solutions. So between those, you may have significant functional benefits. Some may be more of a technical conversion or technical upgrade. So again, typically, to get that benefit, drive that ROI, we're going to see some of the more advanced functionality driving that benefit. And where we see this is task interleaving, way planning, kit to stock, slotting, labor management is some of the big ticket items that are not available in ERP-WM, but are business requirements to really drive and improve those operations. And therefore, a lot of the business case can be tied to these key components. If you're running a third-party WMS today, this changes things. It changes how you approach the business case. So we take a look at both the improvements from an operational side, but you also take a look at the IT benefits. And what we see is that we've seen customers that use a best of breed system that's supposed to be the best solution in the world. But when we go out there and we take a look at the operation, it may have been implemented 10 years ago. They never had the labor management. They never had all the functionality available, and they might not have turned it on. And they implemented the solution 10 years ago when their business was different. Maybe they had small orders, 100 orders a day with 1,000 line items in order, and today their customer base has changed, and now they've got 100,000 orders out there with 1.2 lines per order. So now they really need a system that's designed to meet their business today. So it's very rare that we see, walk into an environment that they're running an efficient third-party warehouse management system that there's no benefit to come over from a functional standpoint to EWM. So if we look at the orange box here, we've got the advanced new functionality, reduction in IT costs, reduction in license and maintenance and interface costs. We'll talk a little bit more about calculating this later. But in addition, the enterprise availability of inventory, activity, and metrics. SAP has a great tool called Supply Chain Performance Management that's got several, I think it's over 200 KPIs defined by the SCORE methodology that sits over to identify those KPIs for across the network. There's functionality that's across warehouses within EWM itself as well to do those metrics. And then inventory across warehouses and plants is something that's always been a strong suit of SAP. Advanced planning and network planning and optimization is always a key and core component that's a benefit of keeping everything in that nicely integrated system. Reduce costs for enhancements and upgrades. This is, this is something that's very significant within the industry, because typically a third-party solution, if you do an enhancement, say it costs $10,000, they do that enhancement. It's called a modification. So you have to go to the vendor to do that modification, and then every year, say it costs $10,000, you're paying 20% on that modification, and so you're paying $2,000 a year just for the maintenance on that. And when you upgrade, you have to consider that during the upgrade process, and it's typically pretty painful. And for those of you that have been in the SAP world for a while, you know that as you do baddies and user exits within SAP, you understand the supportability that you're not paying maintenance on those modifications that you do yourself, and they're typically in environments such as a user exit that supports and a seamless upgrade. Long-term vendor viability is also a strong consideration that kind of lends into the more strategic or maybe non-tangible components of the business case. So if you kept track over the last 5-10 years, you'll see this great consolidation of WMS vendors. So SSA acquired by Infor, they acquired EXE, Provia. Some of those solutions no longer offer JDA and Red Prairie. Today with acquired LIS Dispatch with the MeQ and DLX product and Mark product. So there's this great consolidation, and there's uncertainty with a lot of our customers as to what products are going to be supported until when with a lot of these companies, and who's going to buy who. And as you know, with SAP, typically most companies have a much stronger and better feeling about the vendor viability and how long an SAP solution is going to be offered and maintained going forward. And just one other note on the vendor viability and the enhancements and upgrades is when you're looking at the upgradability, typically we see a cycle with a third-party product of about every 5 years, that company coming to their customers and saying, you need to do a re-implementation, you need to pay a significant upgrade cost to come to the new platform because we're no longer, Windows database is not supported, or that platform is not supported, you have to upgrade to this. And typically every 5 years there's a significant cost by those vendors to charge on it for an additional license fee, along with the painful process for doing that upgrade and doing that re-implementation. And so about every 5 years, we see customers coming to the table to reevaluate, do I stick with the product that I have today, or do I look at another product? Do I look at going to SAP? Converting from a homegrown WMS, a lot of this business case is typically derived from risk avoidance and the benefits of being on one common platform and having a support group and large ecosystem to support a product. Because many of the times that we see customers that have a homegrown system that are more advanced operations, typically they've built everything that they need, each and every tiny little requirement into the system to support their operation, that no off-the-shelf solution could theoretically support out of the box. So what we typically see is that they've reached that breaking point, that they've made so many modifications, so many enhancements to that solution, that they either need to do a major rewrite of the solution or go to another other product. And then typically, we see the platform obsolescence, whether it's, operating system, database, the core coding, platform or language, might be difficult to get. And in order to get somebody within your company to support that solution, typically they have to be trained by the company. And if they leave, you might only have 2 people supporting it. Theoretically, they get hit by a bus. Now you've got 0 support and can't find anybody in the industry to support the product. However, typically again, we'll see this growth and kind of the nuts and bolts within the warehouse being, very advanced and a very good fit for the operation, but they may not have big components like labor management and slotting. Those might be completely new products that they either have to purchase, bolt on, or go to a new solution to offer. So there are some times, and in some areas, advanced new functionality that feeds into the business case. Look at potential reduction in IT costs, again, from leveraging existing SAP resources, existing SAP ABAP resources. System sustainability, reduction in interface support. So even though it's homegrown, it's still an interface back to the ERP host. Potential reduced costs for enhancements and upgrades. You may be still relying on third parties to support the system and have SLAs in place to support your product. Again, long-term vendor viability may be a misnomer in terminology here, but again, how long can we support this product? And then inventory visibility, inventory activities and metrics. Again, going down the same lines of having a third-party system, not having a system that's embedded within an ERP system, you lose some of the core enterprise-level traceability and visibility options. Okay, I'm going to talk about a couple customers here and give you a high level of where they saw the benefits and how they built their business case. So customer number 1 here is a retail company. They're running 2 of the leading best-of-breed or third-party WMS solutions and going through with the Big Bang EWM implementation at 2 facilities here in North America. Why they started looking at EWM, again, end-to-end warehouse management capabilities for all sites and all divisions, and having a standardized solution across those sites. Provide full visibility of all materials across all locations. Close integration between EWM and manufacturing. For this customer in particular, they've got a lot of manufacturing, kitting, create your own orders, customization, and value-added services, and to have all of that tracked and managed through one solution allows them to improve their cycle time and basically be able to ship their customers faster. For them, based on the current environment, license plate barcoding and tracking was something that was improved upon with EWM, full RF capabilities from receiving to shipping, more advanced wave creation and assignment, and elimination of some of the manual processes that they do today. And one thing down at the bottom that's also typically a huge benefit of SAP solutions is batch control here at the end customer level. If you have disparate WMS systems, typically that batch management from an end-to-end cradle grave is not tracked very well with third-party systems, and it's hard to click on one button, for instance, with the SAP's batch where used capability to see what batches went to what customers, what components, raw materials went into those batches. It's hard to do that when you've got 10 systems integrating into each other. Simplifying IT landscape, again, some of those commonized, reducing IT complexity, single platform, reduce Excel access and other side systems. For this company, it was pretty funny that we went out and we walked the floor, and the shipping supervisor was talking about the replenishment process and said, okay, well, this our current system, the best thing about it is the replenishment. It does it so well. All I have to do is I pull this information, I extract it, I put it into this access database, I hit a button, I bring it back, and then I go in and I create these tasks to run it in the system. And so that was the best thing about the system that they had in place today is a third-party, or is the external database that they use to run that operation. So for them, obviously bringing all that in, bringing that into one system, eliminate that maintenance cost of two disparate systems and the interface complexity and maintenance costs associated with it. And then some of the additional enhanced capabilities underneath: labor management, slotting, cross-docking, yard management, some of the big ticket items that they either did not have with the existing systems or were not implemented with the existing systems. So providing their business means to manufacture and fulfill orders in the quickest, most effective manner. Again, going back to improving the integration between systems, being able to run a delivery due list and drop the deliveries to the floor, as opposed to having to do a batch process, which is very common with third-party WMS systems that run a batch. All orders come down overnight. Orders come down every 4 hours. Having a nicely integrated system allows you to drop those orders as they come down, as they're created, and be able to have the warehouse plan and accommodate based on those required ship dates. And by doing that, you're improving the operation within the warehouse, as well as typically improving the cycle time of the customer. Improved visibility. Being able to view orders and inventories, having better integration. If a customer service needs to know where that product is, they're able to do that within their SAP systems. Single system supporting standardization across facilities was definitely a focus of this implementation. And then improved productivity, optimized staff, task, and workflow management. Kind of talked about these items as well. It eliminates the need to have external data and external systems. There was a lot of things that were not done within the systems today because they weren't supported. So SAP's functionality brought that into play within the system. Labor management, yard management as well, and then they also leverage tighter integration with quality management and the quality inspection engine within EWM. And one of the key things for them was to utilize the current RF infrastructure, which was a fit. So typically with SAP, you can leverage your existing RF infrastructure as long as it's typically made within the century. Second customer here is aftermarket parts distribution operation. We replaced actually 2 WM systems and did a big bang implementation for 2 facilities in the U.S. and one in the U.S., one in Germany. And essentially, when they implemented their existing solution, not certain about 10 years ago, basically their business requirements changed. So they're running, a system that was designed for A. Now their requirements change, and their customers' requirements change, and they need to accommodate that. And certainly, as the customers change, they need to be more flexible. They're offering more services to the customers, improving efficiency to reduce the cost and improve the customer service to those customers. And really, the solution that they had in place was limited for growth and expandability to move forward and accommodate the customers. So if I take a look and say I'm running SAP WM today, do I want to invest in that current WM solution, or do I think about, well, is it now the time to invest in EWM, knowing that I've got that scalability moving forward, and how do I tie that to my business case? I'm not going to go through every line item here, but again, here's some of the kind of more lower level detailed benefits that they saw. Improved end-to-end visibility from product from receipt to shipment was significant for them. Basically, they needed to know at any point in time if that product hit the door, once it touched the system, where was it? Within the receiving. Was it in receiving? Okay, well, great. I need to know exactly within receiving where that was. And if it's going from receiving to the bin location, what are the steps to get there, and being able to track it and have that visibility at each step. They reduced a lot of manual entries, a lot of double entry based on the previous system implementation and design. They went full RF-based processing throughout the operation. driving real-time transactions, improving accuracy, improved wave management. So they did a more advanced wave planning and batches and batch picking within the operation. They also were able to consolidate their customer orders, so implementing the processes to, if I've got two customers orders out there, one from yesterday, one from 5 minutes ago, I'm able to consolidate those, bring those together, and ship those under one shipment to the customer. And then some of the IT benefits, again, of standardizing support and the development team. Okay, quantifying the savings, and here's some of the basic steps for developing the ROI. Again, our education is very critical in understanding those system capabilities. It's not only critical for the folks that are engaged on the team building the business case, but that's part of selling the business case. In order to sell to the CEO, needs to know what this is, why it's important to them. Requirements. You know, this is something that's very important to establish what those requirements are and make the assumptions in the beginning and understand those priorities. For instance, labor management, if that is a requirement, we need to know that in the beginning and set that as a requirement, because what we often see is customers may change their mind and pull some pieces out, and that can significantly change the ROI in the business case. So it's key to have agreement between IT and the business as to what the requirements are so that we can accurately establish that business case and stick through it through the implementation. Establishing a baseline and collect data. So understanding what our current metrics are so that we can calculate what my pick rates are going to be, what my volumes are going to be, how many FTE do I have working in the warehouse today, so I can calculate the savings. So then estimating the savings, really taking the hard, soft benefits, applying those to those metrics and saying, okay, well, I've got 10%, you know, my labor content's $200,000 a month. I've got 10% savings coming across from the labor perspective. I'm expected to see savings of $20,000 a month in that labor capacity. Estimating costs, understanding what the internal costs are, external costs are for the implementation for one-time and ongoing costs. Then take costs and savings, calculate your ROI, and then you know, what we see is getting more common is doing a post-implementation audit and understanding of the ROI that I calculated before. Am I achieving that today? Doing that 2 months after the implementation, doing it 1 year after the implementation to validate that, you know, these projects and initiatives that we're undertaking are driving the ROI that we're saying up front. Down at the bottom here, you know, the level of detail required between companies varies greatly. Sometimes companies have to get into very minute detail as the you know, what the labor rates are going to be, what the actual labor savings are going to be, and have engineered data to support that. Other customers, you know, are very loose that say we just need to understand we're going to get, say, a 5 to 10% savings in labor, maybe a 5% or a 0.5% or 1% savings in accuracy and chargebacks from our customers, and put together a business case in a less structured manner. And then also the KPIs and priority vary between industries and companies. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So tangible savings, this is a partial list. Again, labor is significant. That's typically the number one thing that's built into the ROI. Consider, you know, improving the process, training, and ramp up, and also you say consider the material handling equipment. If I've excuse me, if I have 100 workers on the floor and I cut that down from 100 to 95, well, did I just save 5 handheld computers? Did I just save 5 fork trucks? You know, are they leased? Do I own them? Does that cost? You know, are they already depreciated? Does that cost factor into my ROI? Inventory visibility. Can I put a price tag on the ability to know where my product is? Can I reduce some of my inventory management personnel, reduce some of the customer service time that's spent chasing inventory? You can typically quantify savings for reductions and losses, as well as customer chargebacks Typically, those are items on the P&L that you can take a look at and apply it, 5% or X number of savings based on improved processes, improved accuracy. Warehouse space, if we're able to improve the utilization, it's certainly something we can take into account. We can improve the throughput coming out of the building and the space utilization. I might be using a third-party warehouse today that's 10,000 square feet where I'd store extra product. If I can get out of that, what's reduce my shuttle costs, reduce my warehousing costs over there. Industry non-compliance avoidance, kind of tied to chargebacks. Am I improving my customer orders? Am I consolidating shipments so that I can save transportation? And then again, the IT cost savings. Some of the non-tangible items, employee benefit, customer service, cycle time and throughput. Can I put a price tag on improving my service level to extend my cutoff time from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. for orders? Management visibility, inventory reduction. And we have inventory reduction in a couple places because even theoretically, by all mathematical means and standards, you're supposed to, if my inventory accuracy goes up, theoretically my safety level goes down. But that doesn't always tie back to what purchasing can commit to. So it's hard to tie that into real quantifiable time for quantifiable for the business case. And then does my WMS enable new business opportunities to provide competitive advantage? Can I now run new value-added service? Can I do stickers, pricing, kitting for my customers? Do I enable later shipping and later cutoff times? And does that improve my capabilities over my competitors? Single platform benefits, again, we've talked through a lot of these items. We've got total cost of ownership from having the single platform and integrated system. Existing and the long-term support from leveraging your SAP support team, the SAP implementation team, and leveraging existing skill sets, training across multiple modules for long-term support, single vendor for license and infrastructure platform. Interface development and maintenance is, it's typically pretty significant. If you look at some WMSs, it's not called one interface. I got ERP and I got WMS, so that's one interface. No, there's typically 10, 20 interfaces that are developed to send down orders, send down cancellations, inventory adjustments, send down master data. So you take all those up and start adding up the cost that requires for that interface, as well as the annual maintenance cost. If it's only internal employees that are maintaining that, the standard that we've seen out in the industry is $4,000 to $8,000 per year per interface. As well, we've seen that cost associated with maintaining it by paying the vendor that maintenance cost on that interface. So calculating the savings here, basically what we want to say is get your hands dirty. It's kind of maybe more focused on the IT folks is really get out there, understand what the metrics are, understand what potential savings is. Because we look at picking, for instance. If I'm able to batch pick 2 orders at a time, typically as standard travel time is 60% of my total pick time. If I cut two picks at the same time, that means I make 1 trip to the warehouse to pick 2 orders. My pick time is now reduced 50%. So I just received a 30% improvement on my picking. So take a look at what the new processes are, what those are going to be. And down at the bottom here, do simulations. If you're not certain on how this is going to work, what the impact and savings are going to be, you can easily, in this batch picking scenario, easily take 10 orders, run them through a standard picking process, see how long it takes to do. Put the product back, come back, take those 10 orders, put them back together, and batch them together, and have the create a mock pick sheet and have a worker go out and pick those same 10 orders in batch and calculate what the time is to do that and compare those 2 times. So it's pretty easy to get those. Again, get your hands dirty. Take a look at industry benchmarks. SAP's Value Engineering is a good tool, but also take a look at some of the logistics consoles, Work, Apex, et cetera, and see what those benchmarks are for rates, as well as employees, cost of shipments, cost per carton across industries. And then calculate your savings down at the bottom. 15% plus 15% and 15% doesn't add up always to 45%, so don't double dip on that, and apply that to your savings and your annual savings. I'm speeding up a little bit because we're kind of running out of time. So looking at, always take a look at new functionality. Here's some of the new functions that are in 2012 that are out for EWM. TM and EWM integration. The bottom left-hand side, some reporting. This is within EWM, cross-warehouse performance metrics. The bottom right is doc scheduling tool, so a web-based appointment scheduling tool for vendors and carriers and customers to set up for doc scheduling. So pretty neat functionality that, again, keep an eye out for this stuff because it could add some significant components to your business case. Okay, want to talk a little bit about labor management here because it can add a significant bump to your business case and your ROI. There's really two components. Labor management improves the productivity for when people are working, but it also increases the utilization of the workforce. And what many times you'll see is that through a well-implemented labor management program, you're able to decrease your overtime, and increase your utilization. So instead of coming in for 8 hours, working 6 hours, coming in for 8 hours, working 8 hours, and that's where a lot of the drivers are. And as you can see here in this chart, what we're saying is 0% is standard. So basically, a warehouse with an average supervision, average supervisors and DC manager, typically without an LMS, they're running 40% below standard. Take the same operation with reasonable expectancies, we'll bring them up to 20% under standard, which means a 20% improvement. Now, if they've got an LMS and engineered labor standards, it gets them to 5% under standard, and if they've got incentives tied on, you get to 10%. So you can see by this chart that very common across any labor management program, it's very easy to get a 10, 20, 30% improvement within your operation by a well-implemented warehouse labor management program. The last slide here, selling the business case, really management education, understanding, need to educate the management on what they're buying and why it's important to the business. And along the same lines, aligning the business case with the company's strategic goals. Is it purely cost savings? Is it risk avoidance? Traceability? We've got customers that are purely IT savings, purely traceability, the ability to track batches throughout their network, and also purely, pure functional benefits going from WM to EWM. So really need to understand so that up front so you can focus the business case and your efforts to meet those goals. Understand, talk to the business, IT, operations, and understand what the existing pain points are. And WMS is not the same as other systems. Typically, it's really important for business and IT to work together on building the business case because it is significant investment, a significant improvement for the operations side. Understanding your typical financial hurdles. What do I need to get to? Do I need a 1-year payback, 2-year payback? Is my IRR 30, et cetera? And understanding where that is so I can adjust my analysis to accommodate. And sensitivity analysis, we always say is when we go in and say we go in with a picking improvement of 20%, that saves $100,000 a year and justifies a project. Well, maybe I don't have to be as aggressive. What happens if I back that off and do 5% improvement? And I can still meet my payback, still meet that ROI. And by doing a sensitivity analysis and adjusting those numbers, you can gauge to kind of what percentage is going to achieve that return. So then buy in on assumptions before establishing the return and understanding across the business that based on all these assumptions, if we assume those are all correct, then we go back calculating the savings, and we've already got buy-in on the process. Okay, with that, that was the last slide here. So we'll open up the floor to questions. And again, I believe all the questions will need to be submitted through the chat. If we don't get to your questions on the slide here, you can contact us on the emails associated there. So I think, Kyle, if you've got any questions that came in.
Yeah, I do. I got a few here, so we'll see what we can get addressed in the remaining time. So the first one is what is the most common existing implementation scenario that you see when customers are building their business case? So I think they're referring to you had the four different scenarios kind of.
Okay. Yeah, certainly. I'd say that probably the most common right now is replacing a third-party WMS system, and then the second is converting from warehouse management to EWM. And with that, just a quick note is that SAP has released a rapid deployment solution for that conversion that can reduce the effort for doing that implementation. But certainly, I'd say of all the implementations that we're seeing here in North America, replacing third-party systems is the most common.
Okay. Another one is I see that LMS is one of the biggest pushes in ROI for justifying EWM. What if I am not in a position to put in labor just yet?
We've got a lot of customers that do, kind of the crawl, walk, run approach. And what we recommend is because it's available, it's there, it's part of the product, you own it. Turn it on during the implementation, and then you can track those rates. And then there's also the historical rates, and there's reporting associated with that can be leveraged out of the box. Then say, a year from now, once your procedures are you're comfortable with the stabilization of the implementation, you've got standard operating procedures, and you're ready to do an engineered standards program, you can go in and do that program and develop those standards and apply them to the system and continue on and take the additional benefits of the true LMS. Even before that, you can work with your historical rates and reasonable expectancies and plug those in to kind of get the walk. So it is scalable. What we've traditionally seen is most customers today, I'd say 75% of customers today are going in without engineered standards and without a full LMS. And in that case, they're using historical or kind of reasonable expectancies to influence the program, and then about 25% doing a kind of a more full LMS implementation.
All right. Another one is, will WM still be supported?
Yeah, I think there's rumors or perception out there. I'll talk a little bit to it. If you ask SAP, the official answer, SAP WM is still supported. And if you're familiar with SAP's approach to product life cycle, basically by the time they tell you that they're not supporting it, that product's going to stick around for X number of years, and then from there it'll be sunsetted and into extended maintenance. So I think theoretically you've got 15 years or so from any point in time that SAP says it's not going to be supported. But there's also 5,000 customers or more on WM, so it's hard to believe that they're going to turn that functionality off for all those customers. So it is still supported. We still do a lot of WM implementations, and we work with our customers in basically determining which application is the right fit for you. Is it WM? Is it EWM?
All right. Probably the last question here. What is the typical timeline for a business case study?
Another, I guess, it depends question. What we see is we've got some customers that say, hey, I got a budget. I have to have my budgets in a month from now and cram in a business case for the next year. And some companies say, I've got a project, I've got the money, and we're ready to start. I just need to button up my business case, so they do it in a really short time frame. And then some companies can take, I'd say probably up to 6 months before the budget cycle to develop that business case. And of course, our recommendation is always to start early, do your webinars, do your investigation, and understand the product. Start the business charter, start the business case as soon as you can. So when somebody comes down to your desk and says, hey, put this together for next week, we've got already a start on that process.
All right. Well, folks, again, this probably wraps up the time for the questions today. What we'll do is we'll respond directly to you for the remaining questions that we did not get to answer. So please feel free to send, if you do have any other questions, to send those to Michael Fiore here, the address on the screen. Today's presentation slides will also be sent out to you within the next day, along with a link where you can download a copy of today's webinar on demand. Also, for any of you attendees, or if you know of anybody else in the Princeton, New Jersey, or the Chicago, Illinois area, LOGISTAR is hosting a complimentary SAP customer workshop that'll give you insights and education from industry leaders in SAP supply chain space. So it's an all-day event. The Princeton event is on the 4th of December. Chicago's on the 6th. And you can follow the link on your screen here to register. Again, on behalf of LOGISTAR Solutions, we would like to thank you for attending the webinar and hope to see you in the future on another webinar. Thank you.